We are living in an age of scientific mythology. For the last century, we have been asked to trade our common sense for the quantum abstraction, except in a universe where cause and effect are replaced by probability and paradox. We are told that nature is inherently chaotic, but deep down, the logical mind rejects this. The universe is not a casino, it is a machine, and like any machine, it operates on mechanical principles: pressure, tension, and flow. The truth is not hidden in complex equations. It is hidden in the simple mechanics we have been taught to ignore. To truly comprehend the nature of our reality, we must be willing to dismantle the very house in which we reside. We must be willing to inspect the foundations of modern science and admit, however uncomfortable it may be, that there are cracks in the concrete. Our modern scientific foundation is built upon a pervasive idea that we inhabit a vast, desolate vacuum. We are told that the space between the stars and even the space within an atom is a void. However, this concept is a logical impossibility. Existence, or something, is defined by having properties. It has size, shape, and density. Non-existence, or nothing, is the absence of those properties. Nothing cannot be bent, measured, or most importantly, hold two things apart. Logic dictates that you cannot have a wave without water, and you cannot have a force without a medium to carry it. Yet the establishment asks us to believe that light is a particle that behaves like a wave that travels through absolutely nothing, and that gravity is a force that grabs hold of planets across millions of miles of empty space without any connection whatsoever. Even the man they worship as the father of physics, Sir Isaac Newton, knew this was nonsense. While modern textbooks utilize his mathematics, they conveniently ignore his personal correspondence. In 1693, Newton wrote a private letter to a theologian named Richard Bentley, and in it, he furiously denounced the absurdity. He wrote, "And this is one reason why I desired you would not ascribe innate gravity to me. That gravity should be innate, inherent, and essential to matter, so that one body may act upon another at a distance through a vacuum, without the mediation of anything else, by and through which their action and force may be conveyed from one to another, is to me so great an absurdity that I believe no man who has in philosophical matters any competent faculty of thinking can ever fall into it." He continued, providing the mandate for a mechanical explanation. Gravity must be caused by an agent acting constantly according to certain laws. But whether this agent be material or immaterial is a question I have left to the consideration of my readers. Newton knew that for the Earth to pull any cosmological body, there had to be something in between them. There had to be a fluid. There had to be an ether. We can prove the logic of the ether right now, in your own mind, with a simple thought experiment I call the balloon paradox. Imagine a partially inflated, sealed rubber balloon inside a chamber from which we remove the surrounding air. The balloon does not shrivel, it expands. Since the number of atoms inside is fixed, and the atoms themselves are rigid structures, standard science suggests the only thing that expands is the empty space between them. But if that space were truly nothing, you would have to accept the ridiculous conclusion that the quantity of nothing increased to exert force. Since the space expanded and exerted force, it cannot be empty. It must be a compressible substance. It must be a fluid. We need to stop picturing atoms as little solar systems with orbiting particles and start seeing them as magnetic cages, active structures that hold the etheric fluid tight like a compressed spring. When the external pressure is removed, it is not just space that grows, it is the magnetic fields of the atoms themselves that are stretching out. Specifically, the atom's magnetic containment field expands, thinning out the ether it holds inside. A vacuum is not empty space, it is just low pressure, low viscosity ether, a region where the fluid of the universe has been mechanically stretched thin by the expansion of these magnetic fields. This mechanical stretching of the medium is directly correlated with heat. Expansion creates heat, and heat creates expansion. Conversely, as the medium tightens, it cools. Cold creates condensation, and condensation creates cold. This understanding reveals that we exist in a fully pressurized container. By definition, pressure means everything is pressing against everything else. There are no gaps. The magnetic fields of every atom are in constant physical contact with their neighbours, pressing against one another like a crate of packed sponges. Therefore, if one field expands, another must contract. There is a dynamic relationship between every point in space. This ether, the fundamental medium, is structured by a hidden code, a geometry. Nikola Tesla, the man who arguably understood the electrical nature of reality better than anyone, pointed directly to this arithmetic blueprint. He famously stated, "If you only knew the magnificence of the 3, 6, and 9, then you would have a key to the universe. But to turn this key, we must be very specific about what these numbers represent within an acoustic machine." The number 9 is the ether itself. It is the fundamental string from which all sound is produced. By itself, the string is silent. It requires a force to bring it to life. That force is the 3 and the 6. These are the oscillating magnetic pulses, the vibrations that act upon the string. Music is a musical scale. In order for us to hear the musical scale, there must first exist a string, and that string is going to produce the entire scale based on how it is oscillated. The 3 and the 6 provide that oscillation, vibrating the etheric string to generate the harmonic structure known as the doubling octave, the 1, 2, 4, 8, 7, 5, 1 sequence. This sequence implies that physical matter is simply the music of these vibrations. When we view the elements through this lens, we see that the periodic table is actually a periodic tower, a vertical musical scale sorted by density. Just as we have different C notes in music, C1, C2, C3, all the way to C10, the elemental tower has noble nodes. These are the noble gases. Each noble node rests as a structural anchor in the harmonic scale. They represent moments of perfect resonance where the capacity of the magnetic field matches the pressure for the ideal structured decline. Every other element exists within the range of a specific octave defined by these nodes. An atom of copper or iron possesses the capacity of the denser noble node that anchors its octave, yet the amount of pressure its magnetic field can produce is deficient. It cannot fully compress the medium to reach that stable state. Therefore, it is always at a deficit. It is like a note that is slightly out of tune with the scale of creation. This tuning error is what we perceive as chemical reactivity and conductivity. The element is chemically active because it is acoustically dissonant, forever trying to bond with other fields to correct its pitch. To understand why these deficits exist, we must look inside the structure of the atom itself. We must stop visualizing the atom as a solar system of particles and start visualizing it as a magnetic standing wave. Standard science tells us there are 7 electron shells, but what we are actually measuring are 7 harmonic layers of etheric pressure. This structure is built directly on the doubling circuit, 1, 2, 4, 8, 7, 5, 1. The atom is a nucleus impulsing a magnetic field that condenses the ether inward. This condensation follows a precise gradient. In the innermost layer, the 1, there is a specific volume of space and a specific pressure. As we move outward to the second layer, the volume of space doubles, but the magnetic pressure also doubles. Because the pressure increases perfectly in step with the volume, the density of the ether remains constant. The same happens at the transition to 4 and again to 8. This creates a harmonic plateau. For the first 4 stages, 1, 2, 4, and 8, the magnetic field is strong enough to double its compression with every doubling of space. This creates a region of high density equilibrium. You can visualize this inner plateau like an ocean. It is dense, fluid, and behaves like a heavy liquid. This condensed ether is what gives the atom its solid mass. However, every magnetic impulsor has a maximum capacity. At the 4th stage, the number 8, the field reaches its limit. As the wave expands into the outer harmonic layers, 7, 5, and 1, the volume continues to double, but the magnetic field can no longer double the pressure to match it. The compression ability drops off steeply. This is where the structure shifts from the ocean to the mist. These outer 3 layers are the very same dynamic layers we saw expanding in the balloon paradox. They are not dense liquid, they are a thin, nebulous fog of expanded ether. This is the region where the circuit attempts to return to 1 but fails. Because the circuit begins at 1 and ends at a fraction of 1, the atom becomes bipolar. It does not equal out. There is a constant tension, a permanent gap in the pressure gradient. This is the mechanical definition of voltage potential. This mist is the key to conductivity. The density of this outer fog determines the viscosity of the atom's boundary. If the mist is thick and heavy, which we call high viscosity, it blocks the flow of loose ether. This is an insulator. If the mist is thin and wispy, it offers little resistance. We do not have to guess at the properties of this mist. We can measure its exact viscosity, and therefore the conductivity of any element, using simple arithmetic. It is determined by the compression ratio deficit and the size of the harmonic container, which is dictated by the octave in which the element resides. The formula is straightforward. We take an element's atomic number, which represents the amount of etheric quanta it can successfully compress, and we divide it by the atomic number of the next dense noble node, the perfect version of that octave. Take oxygen as the primary example. Oxygen has an atomic number of 8. The noble node that anchors its specific octave is neon, with an atomic number of 10. When we divide 8 by 10, we get 0.8. This means oxygen is operating at 80% capacity. However, the most important number is not what is there, but what is missing. The difference is 0.2. This means oxygen has a 20% structural deficit. This 20% represents the tension within the outer 3 harmonic levels of the magnetic container, the region where the atom failed to maintain compression. If you apply this deficit to the harmonic layering model, where pressure doubles for the first 4 stages to create the ocean plateau, but then stalls while volume continues to double for the outer 3 stages, you can mathematically determine the density of the outer field. You can calculate exactly how thin the mist is, but the percentage alone does not tell the whole story. We must also consider the size of the container. Imagine 2 elements that both have this same 20% deficit. One is oxygen, which exists in a lower, smaller octave, and the other is a heavy metal in a much higher, larger octave. They both have the same internal viscosity, meaning the mist inside them is equally thick, but their capacity for flow is radically different. Think of it like water pipes. Oxygen is a tiny cocktail straw, while the heavy metal is a massive fire hose. Both pipes might be filled with the same filter, allowing only 20% of the water to pass through, but 20% of the flow through a cocktail straw is a trickle, while 20% of the flow through a fire hose is a torrent. The tiny straw has a narrow cross-section that restricts volume regardless of viscosity, while the fire hose allows a huge volume of ether to pass simply because the path is wider. Therefore, the ultimate conductor is the element that combines a massive structural deficit with a high octave placement. It is the biggest hose with the thinnest mist. This understanding clarifies the second great error, the particle. We are taught that electricity is made of tiny solid pellets called electrons, but this is the mistake of confusing the measuring cup with the water. The universe is a continuous ocean of ether energy. The atom, as a magnetic structure with a specific geometry, can only accept or release the ether in specific amounts, determined by its shape. The electron is not a solid ball inside the container. It is just a measured volume of the condensed fluid, better understood as quanta. Once the electron is recognized as a measured volume of fluid, we see that electricity is hydrodynamics. It is not a foreign object moving through the ether, it is the ether itself flowing. The ability of a copper wire to conduct is not a binary switch, but a scale determined entirely by the viscosities of the ether within the atom's magnetic field that we just calculated. In a conductor like copper, the mist is so thin that external ether can flow through these outer layers like wind blowing through fog. It is not particles jumping between shells. It is the hydrodynamics of a fluid passing through a structured, isolated region with low viscosity. The clearest validation of this hydrodynamic model is superconductivity. It is a known fact that if you freeze a material to absolute zero, it suddenly conducts electricity with zero resistance, allowing current to flow indefinitely. While standard physics must invent complex quantum abstractions to explain this, the fluid model offers an obvious mechanical answer. We establish that cold creates condensation and a tighter medium, while heat creates expansion and turbulence. At room temperature, the outer harmonic fields of copper atoms are unstable due to heat, creating turbulence and viscosity in the ether that manifests as drag. However, when you freeze the metal, you condense the ether. This structured ether achieves such a high state of internal pressure that it becomes virtually solid and extremely dense, occupying the inner harmonic layers. This rigid condensation eliminates the loose, viscous outer layers that typically cause drag. We can look at the balloon from the earlier paradox as an excellent macrocosm to picture this. Imagine taking the air inside that balloon and freezing it into a dense, solid particulate. When you add additional air, it will not mix with the existing solid medium. It remains completely immiscible. The solid core does not interfere with the newly introduced air, thus creating absolutely zero drag or resistance. Similarly, the flowing ether glides through the unimpeded path of the structural deficit with absolutely zero friction, because the condensed ether is immiscible and cannot interfere with the dynamic medium passing through. Now that we understand the field is a pressurized, touching lattice of magnetic bubbles, we can finally explain light. Since all elements are in contact within this pressurized container, light cannot be a particle shooting through empty space. It is a disturbance in this field. It is simply the act of sonoluminescence. In hydrodynamics, sonoluminescence occurs when sound waves traverse a fluid, creating pressure pockets, bubbles, that collapse and emit light. The etheric field operates on this exact principle. Light is the result of disturbing these touching magnetic fields. When energy propagates through the medium, it creates rapid compressions and expansions, forming pressure bubbles within the etheric field that resonate and luminesce. We do not see photons, we see the acoustic resonance of the ether itself. And if light is a wave moving through this continuous river of ether, its speed must depend on the flow of the medium. Georges Sanac proved exactly this in 1913. Using a rotating table, he fired a beam of light and split it, sending one clockwise and one counterclockwise. When he spun the table, the beam of light travelling with the rotation took more time to return than the beam travelling against the rotation. The light travelling with the rotation was forced to fight the etheric current, meaning the etheric wind was blowing against its direction of travel, slowing its measured return. He proved that the speed of light is not constant, it is dictated by the medium it travels through. In 1925, Michelson and Gale confirmed this drag using the Earth itself. By firing light beams around a massive track of pipes, they sought to detect the ether wind, resulting from either the Earth spinning through the medium or the medium flowing past a stationary Earth. They found a clear displacement, proving a detectable drag, regardless of Earth's motion. The void is filled. So where does this leave us? We have dismantled the empty void and replaced it with a pressurized ocean. We have dissolved the solid particle and revealed it as a measure of flow. We know that light is the sonoluminescence of this ocean, and electricity is the current of the ocean itself. But this leads us to one massive final mystery. If we are living in a pressurized fluid, what is gravity? If there are no magical forces pulling from the center of the Earth, why do we stick to the ground? The answer lies in the electrical nature of the world. We have to stop looking at the Earth as a rock and start looking at it as a component in a circuit. Measurement shows a vertical voltage gradient. The Earth is a negatively charged plate and the sky is a positively charged dome. We are living inside a colossal capacitor. In a fluid medium, a massive electrical potential like this creates a flow, a drift. We are not clinging to a spinning rock in a vacuum. We are grounded by the pressure of the heavens, held in place by the current of a living electric universe.